Okay, we can start. How are you guys? Good? Excellent. We do the GitHub pull again, like the previous times. So you go to your terminal and you say git pull. I'm in the wrong place. Okay, so you say git pull, and it should get all the latest tags. Okay, and then we do git tag -l. Do you see the lecture 6 start? Yes? Okay, then git tags / start -3, let's call it L6 working. So we pull this to the branch lecture 6 working, okay? With this command. Has everybody done it? Anybody not done it? Up. Messed up. Oh, git checkout. Checkout. Okay. Just to make sure that we're on that branch, just to git branch. Okay. So we're in L6 working. And in the README file, it's here. All right, I'm going back to the repository and just gonna talk about the README file for this thing. So if you recall, in the previous lecture, we tried to build everything inside the build method of the scaffold, okay, which is obviously not a great thing. So for that, we will create a mock class, okay? We will create a class that's called mock, and it will have static methods to create, like first name, last name, email, a user ID, an image URL, etc. So that whenever we need to create these type of mock things, we can refer to that class, and we can do that, okay? Now, the other thing that we need to do is in the Flutter lorem, if you remember when we created a word, it was bringing it a dot at the end, okay? So we need to fix that. Then we can also add a method to the user object that the user object can give us a mock user, okay? So we can add that method to the user object. Then what I want to do is I want to create a few widgets, okay, which all take, no, it's fine. If you have a problem, you have a problem or no?
Let me try some more.
Okay, so the other thing is then we will create a few widgets which should all take this user object, right? So whenever I want to display the user object, and I can display the user object as a list tile, as a card, just as the picture of it, etc. You know, I should be able to display it. I mean, it's a good way to say build your application to display the data. Okay. All right. So, and then I haven't written here, and then we will go on and putting a few of these things on the screen. And then we're going to talk about software design patterns a little bit, and then we'll have the quiz. Okay, I'm going to do the quiz for half an hour. We have questions that are multiple choice questions, and there's 2 questions that are to be handwritten, like 2 sentences max. So it shouldn't be a very demanding quiz, I hope. Okay. All right. So let's focus on a little bit Dart language. Okay? So what I've done is already, if you go to services mock.dart, you'll see that I've created this class mock, and I've created this static methods. Do you guys know what's a static method?
Yes.
Who doesn't know what's a static method? Everybody knows what's a static method. Excellent. Okay. So we create these static methods like first name, and what it will do is it will call lorem with 1 paragraph and 1 word, which obviously brings a dot at the end, right? And because this is a string, if I do a replace the dot with an empty string, I'll get rid of the dot. Okay? So, so the first name static method, the last name static method is going to give me just 1 word without a dot at the end. And because it's a paragraph, it already comes with a capital. The email is going to be just the first name at lastname.com. So it's going to create, again, random first name, last name.com. For now, it's good. It's sufficient. Okay. And the UID, so we want to also generate a UID, which will then refer to the package, UUID4 package to generate. And then the image URL is going to be this text followed by the color name. So I've included the colors here in the mock class, or just above the mock class as a constant. So we'll just pull these colors and bring it. So basically now with this mock class, I have the ability to generate first name, last name, email, UID, and image URL. Any questions on this mock class? And I put this mock class in services because I need, maybe later I want to change the way I generate the first name, last name. Maybe instead of using lorem, I'm going to connect to an API that gives me all available, a random first name, a random last name, etc. But for now, this should work. And also for image URLs, maybe I can, yes?
Is this the same thing that we did in the last class?
Yes, it's the same thing. So let's go back to that one. So in this, in the user list page, we created the first name from the lorem, remember? And, but the only thing is that was giving us a dot at the end. Now we don't have the dot.
Okay.
The email and, UUID, it's all the same, right? But what I've done is now I've created a mock class, which I can call. And the good thing is, whenever I call the mock class in different parts of the code, right? If I change the way I want to create a mock first name, it will apply to everywhere. Whereas here, if I do it here, it won't apply everywhere, right? So that's why I created this mock class that gives me these things, okay? And because it's a static method, the way I'm going to call it is I'm going to call it like mock.email, and it will just give me this number. So now, how am I going to use it in the user object that we created? So I go to the user.dart model, user model, in user.dart, and there I have a static method again called create mock user. So when I call user.create mock user, it gives me a user object, a newly generated user object with a random first name, random last name, random email, random image URL, and random UID. Questions? Okay, so so now for the user, I can create a mock user so that I don't have to write any of that code in that page. Okay, so in the user list page, okay, I was generating the user list with this returning a user every time calling a mock user, but I can now comment this out, and also I can comment out the colors, right? And I can uncomment the user list. And now I can just generate this user list with this function called create mock user. And then we can print this user list. Okay, so let's run this code. Whoever can run it. Okay, you look here for the user prints. Okay, who is able to get this running, or who is not? Raise your hand if you haven't been able to. Oh,
ठीक है और अब ठीक है और डाउनलोड करते हैं
You mind just deleting everything and like deleting the directory and then pulling it from GitHub the fresh one?
Yeah. 是用小 book 吧？它有写了一个
Okay. So where were we? So the mock user creation worked. We have our mock user. It's printing. It's doing it nicely. So now I want to create these objects. Do you have any questions about this so far? What we've done with the user list? Okay. Okay, if you go into the widget directory, there is a user ListTile. Actually, go to user avatar. User avatar. So I've created a class called user avatar, which is a stateless widget. Okay, so it's already there. So just look at the screen now. It's a stateless widget, and it requires a user object to be passed into it. Okay? So it requires a user object to be passed into it. Now, circle avatar is a Flutter object. Okay? And it takes a child. In this case, we're going to send the child text of the user's first names, first character, last names, first character, and it's basically just the two initials. Okay? And for a good measure, I think what we should also do is to uppercase, and also this one to uppercase. Okay? So the circle avatar should give me to uppercase of the two things, okay, inside the text. So now I have created my user avatar. If I want to display just the initials, let's go to the ListTile. A ListTile is also a Flutter object, and the ListTile will be used in lists views. Okay, a typical list view can take a ListTile in Flutter and do that. So the leading of the ListTile is the first, let's say, button or image, etc. Then it has a title and a subtitle. So that would be the ListTile, and it gets the user's avatar, and as a text, it gets for the title, first name, last name, and subtitle, user email. Another object I want to create is a card. Okay? So let's go to the very inside first. Okay? So in the inside, I have a column. Okay, so this is important now to figure out. So I have a column with a main axis size min. You remember this main axis and cross axis, right? I want a cross axis at the start so that everything will be left justified, right? If it's at the end, it will be right justified. and it has 3 children. It has a container, we'll figure that out in a minute, and 2 texts. The one text is username, first name, last name. The style of this text for this card is the text theme. So the theme of context, so this is the material theme of context, text theme, and then which components did you have in the text theme in material design? We had 5. Display,
Heading.
title, heading,
Heading. Title.
body, label. Okay, so we have 5. Label, body, title, display, and heading. Okay, so we have 5. So we're going to use title medium, which is just above the body. And for the user email, we're going to use it with the body. So it implies body medium if I don't put a style. But remember, in some cases, guys, this is important. If you don't specify the style, so this is very important. If you don't specify the style, if it's going into ListTile, for example, I didn't specify a style for title and subtitle. But ListTile has its own theme. Okay? ListTile has its own default theme. So a text object that goes into the title, if it doesn't have an explicit style associated with it, it takes it from the ListTile theme. Okay? So let's put as a comment here, the style of the text will be taken from the ListTile theme. Okay? But if you want to override it, you can override it here with the style, but otherwise it will take it. However, in the card, right, if I go to the user card, here, I'm not in a particular themed object. Like the themed objects are, what are the themed objects? For example, a text input field, right? It's a themed object. It has, you know, it has a certain size for label, it has a certain size for the input text, etc. There's a lot of things that the input text already has, input field. So that has its own theme. Or a ListTile has its own theme, etc. But here we don't have our own theme, so it will just take the body medium if I don't specify anything. But I'm designing a card, so I need to specify this with a title medium for this name. So is this clear about the theme? I mean, we're going to do this more later, but as a concept, you should understand that there are certain times when the object will get a theme. For example, chips. Who knows what I'm talking about when I say chips? So chips are like these round button-like objects, but they are not really buttons. But they are, they can display, for example, filter chips. You can have filters and so on. Like that chip is already a material design element, right? And it has its own font size, it has own background color, and a lot of things associated with already defined within the chip theme. Okay, so you don't specify that explicitly. All right, so this is the important one to understand. So above the text, above these 2 texts in the card, I'm putting the guy's picture, the user's picture. Okay, yes?
So I just wanted to confirm the understanding of user card and why we are adding the style to it. So basically, the card usually does not have a style of its own. So either we define the style over here, so that it matches the user list, or otherwise like we define a new style for the user card itself. Is that correct?
So the card doesn't have a style in itself because the card doesn't have specified fields. The card has just, it has certain properties like margin, elevation, and so on and so forth. But the card says, okay, whatever you give me as a child, I'm going to display it. That's what the card does. So therefore, it doesn't know if the child is a collection of buttons. It doesn't know if the card is an image and a button, a bunch of filter chips. So therefore, it's a blank theme. It's just a general theme. So therefore, we have to specify it here. Now this container, okay, so now I want to put this picture in the middle, right? But what did I say for the cross-axis alignment? To the left, right? So if I put the picture without anything, if I just say put the circle avatar, where is it going to put it?
On the left
to the
side.
left. Is that what I want? I want it in the middle and with a little bit of like space around it, okay? So therefore, I put this inside the container. I put a 20 pixel around it as a buffer, okay? I put 20 pixels, so from the top of the card, it will have a 20 pixels. And actually, there is one more padding here, we'll come to that, but it has 20 pixels, so inside the column, it has 20 pixels from the top, 20 pixels from the bottom, 20 pixels to the left and right. But the circle avatar is a small object, right? Now, I'm making this container expand to the sides of the column. Right? I'm making this container expand to the size of the column by giving a double infinity width. So this is important to remember. So now this container is expanded to the size. From the top and bottom, it's just wrapping the object. So the circle avatar is this big. Then I gave a 20 padding. So it puts a padding around it. And now it's trying to wrap the object from top and sides. But on the side, I've actually pushed it artificially to double infinity, meaning to the edges that it can go to. So therefore, from the top and bottom is 20 pixels, and then here is like that. So now I have a circle avatar, and why is this doing this? Oh, because I need to put it on power. How are we doing on time?
7:30.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what were we saying? So we have, in this case, I'm not, in this case, I'm not using the user avatar with the initials. Instead, I'm using back the circle avatar, but I'm putting it onto a background image. What's the background image? It's the user.image URL. And this is the correct way to use it. So it's not, so this, okay, listen please. This image.network is a widget. Image.network is a widget. So when you want to put, if you want to show the image as one of these widgets on the column, then you would use this. But the circle avatar needs as an image source. So you have to use this widget and then widget's image to be able to display it. Anyway, it's a technicality, but you will figure that out later when you come to that. You don't have to remember that for now. This is just a peculiarity of the circle avatar. Okay, so now this container, we understand that it's going to now, because I'm also putting the alignments at center, it's going to put the object in the center. It's going to make the container push to the side. So therefore, I'm going to get at the top of the column, I'm going to get this image there. The column has a main axis size min, so it's not trying to expand itself. Yes.
So I can understand all the things that you have taught right now, but I can see multiple child items inside, like inside the size box. So what does each child over here represent?
Where?
So if you can see, there's a child card, then there's child padding. So like, does everything needs to be a child inside a user card? So on the top. So if you see after in the line 30.
Yes. Okay, but I'm trying to go from the inside to the out.
Okay.
So let's go from inside to the out. Okay. So now I have done a column. Okay, with the image and the text, and with a little bit of padding around it of the column. Of the image, but the text doesn't have any padding to the side, right? So the text is starting at the very edge of the column. So what would be nice is that if I also put a padding around that column thing. So I have three objects. The image is sitting there, and text, and it's now going to the edges. So I want to put a little bit of column to make this a bit edges before it hits the card's edges. Okay? So before it hits the card edges, I put another 8 pixels around, and now I have a card. But the card, it still wants to occupy arbitrary space. Okay, the card wants to occupy arbitrary space. So I'm restricting the card's size with the size box. I'm placing the card into the size box and restricting the size of the card. Okay? So basically the user card returns this object then with a 200 width card. So let's try to display this. Okay? Let's go to any questions so far on this?
What about the alignment of the text underneath the container that has the avatar? Will they be to the left?
Look, the text and container, these are all children of the column. So the column decides where to put them. And we just told the column that the cross-axis alignment should be start. So we told the column these things should all be left aligned. This is left aligned, but because it's pushed to the available space, and this one is already in the middle, this is fine. So it's left aligned, but it fills the entire space. Whereas these texts are left aligned. These texts are left aligned, but they may not have the full width of the column. Okay, so that's the thing. And let's try to paint this on the screen. So on the user list, we have our user list. So what we can do is in the body, instead of displaying hello world, okay, we can put, where is my thing? Okay. Now we can put here, sorry, let's open the screen. Okay, we can put here in the body a card, user card of, okay, it's not defined, so control dot, and I get the thing, sorry. So I pull the definition from the library. So user card needs a user, and from user list, let me take the first user and pass it to the user card. Okay, so the scaffold has all this empty space up to here, and it was displaying the hello world. We got rid of the hello world. It's going to display a card. And remember, the card we've given a 200 width, but we haven't given it a height. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay? So if we didn't put the sized box, how big would this card be?
The entire frame.
Huh?
The entire scaffold.
The entire, why?
Because the width would not have been defined and the width would have been double infinity, so it would have tried to take that.
Yeah, because the container is going to try to expand, and the card knows that it cannot go beyond the scaffold, and scaffold is this much, and the column main axis size min for the column is making sure that column just foots the objects, and then it doesn't want to put anything more. Okay? So this is my user card now. This is fine. Let's also display a ListTile. Okay. So let's go to body. If I can display it by itself, user ListTile, and the user list of 0. Okay, so user list style. So now you understand what is the user list style. As you can see, the name is automatically written with a different font than the subtitle, the title and subtitle. And then just like we defined, it gives us the circle avatar with the first name and last name initials in capitals. Okay, exactly as we designed. And also note that it is sized all nicely. We didn't give any size to circle avatar. The positioning of the title and subtitle, it all sort of fits. Okay, we don't have to worry about any of these things. That's the nice thing about these material design elements or these ready-made widgets in Flutter. Very easily you get these design objects, okay? So this is user list style. Now let's try to display a list of these user objects, okay? So let me do that, and for the body, I put a list view. Now, list view, if you will remember, it asks a scroll direction, and automatically it's vertical by default. You may give it a controller, and you may tell a primary, etc. The most important thing that you cannot avoid is the children property. Okay? So remember, the list view by itself, if you give it a children list, as a list of widgets as children, it'll count them by itself, and it knows how many to print on the screen. But if we wanted to create this list view generated, we would use ListView.builder or ListView.separated. Okay, let's do the simple one. So children is going to be, what will be the children?
A list of user list type.
Well, sorry, I told you the wrong thing. The user list is not widgets, right? It's users. How do I turn them into widgets? Okay? Huh?
The map function.
Map function. Okay, very good. So can you tell me how I do it? So I have user list dot map. So the map function has the argument, which would be the item. Okay, in this case, let's call it the user. And then the item or the widgets to be returned. So return some widget that I want to return that processes that user object. What widget can I return here in the list view?
User list.
User list.
User list style, very good. Of user. Okay? But it's still complaining. So in order to stop its complaining, you just have to end this with dot to list.
Because it's lazy. Yeah.
Because it's, let's read the,
Yeah, it said that it couldn't convert an iterable or whatever you
it's a lazy iterable, and we need to get it iterated, okay? So the toList iterates it. So we've now just created the body with a list view like this. And we're going to hit save and see if it worked. And save. It worked, okay? So now I have a list of these users. So I've taken the user list, user class list, processed them so that it becomes a widget list, yeah? And then we just display that list view as the body of the scaffold. And the list view, again, if you remember, it tries to occupy the entire space. It goes up to here, and yeah, so that's the list view. Okay?
What was the difference between ListView and the child scroll single view? I can't remember what it was called.
So, single child scroll view. So, what's the difference between ListView and... So, ListView is a scrollable widget which has components that's bigger than itself. So, and then it tries to occupy the space as much as it can, and then it gives a scroll. Single child scroll view takes not children but a single child. So we will do it in a minute. But for example, what I want to do and stop there is basically I want to I want to show my page in such a way that I can, I have on the top part, I have a list view that I can scroll. And on the bottom part, I want cards that I can swipe from left to right. Okay? So we've now done this, the list view. Let's comment it out. And let's do actually the separator one. Let's do this with separator. Okay, so I comment this out, and in the body I say ListView.separated. Okay, the separated needs two functions. You know, first it asks how am I going to build my item. Second, it asks how am I going to build the separator, and third, it says how many do you want me to build it. Okay. So I wanted to build as much as, let's say, 20. Or what I can say is that it's user list.length. Okay? Because I already have the user list, I can say user list like that as the item count. If I put a comma behind the last thing in the arguments, it should... because it's in the error, it doesn't auto do the thing. Okay, the item builder is going to be a function of context and index. And separator builder will also be a function of context, index. Okay. For the separator, I'm just going to send the divider. And for the item builder, I'm going to send a card of user user card. What am I doing? Of user, and there is a behind. Where is my error? Okay, it needed this last comma. Okay, so ListView.separated item builder is a function of two arguments, context and index. Context is the context of the build context, and index is in which number of the item I am at that point. Okay, so this will go from 0 to 19. Then we're going to paint the user card using the indexed value from the user list of the user. Okay? Now for it to be, it's already created it on the screen. It created on the screen. Okay? But it's vertical. Now, if I want to do it horizontal, all I have to do is that I say scroll direction. Axis not horizontal. But do you see now what it did to the to this thing?
It went all the way up.
Yeah, it went all the way up. So what I want to do is that I want to wrap this list view now, and I want to constrain its vertical size. How can I do that? With what?
Shrink wrap. Shrink wrap.
Well, the shrink wrap, remember, shrink wrap applies to the list view, and it's on the main axis of the list view. So if we're going to use shrink wrap on this list view, it will only work in this direction. We want to compress it from the top to bottom, in which case I can wrap this. So to wrap, I go command dot on the object, right? So that's the short thing. And I want to wrap it with a size box. And I want to give it a height of, let's say, 250. Okay? So now I have a size box of 250, and inside it is a horizontal thingy, a horizontal user list, but it's starting all the way at the edge. Is that nice? It's not nice, right? So this is obviously a very specific thing, but let's try to do a padding around it. Instead of size box, I do a container with padding So I turn the size box to a container, which takes a padding property. And I'm saying that the padding should be only on the left 20, so that I put a padding of 20 here. I mean, this is a common problem that you will see. So therefore, this solution you can use. You'll put a 20, so it will put a padding of 20 here, but it's not going to do anything here because you don't want anything here. You don't want a padding here. You want this to go inside the thing. And when somebody opens the page, you want to give the impression that they're going to scroll to the left. And that's how you give that impression, by giving a space here, and here the objects are just going under the screen. You know that they are cut. But on the left, in the beginning, it's not. So if we do that, now we've brought this back here. But look what happens. It's very ugly. This is very ugly. Okay, so this is very ugly, and this is the trick to do it. So you have to pay attention now. So let me get rid of this padding now. I don't need this padding. And I'm going to do a padding to the user card, but only to the first one. Okay? So here, I'm going to do, let me add a padding to it. And padding should be only left. And then if the index equals 0, padding is 20. Otherwise, it's 0. So the reason is it automatically inserted the constant in front of the edge insets. If I do you understand what's going on? Somehow the editor inserted this constant automatically instead of this edge inset star only. And if I'm trying to use a variable inside edge insets, when this constant is there, it's going to complain. So all I have to do is get rid of this constant, and now I have a left padding, which goes from, which is 0 if the index is 0, and 20 otherwise, actually. Sorry, if the index is 0, it's 20, and 0 otherwise. So for the first item, it gives this padding to the item, but we don't know that. I mean, the user doesn't know that. And so therefore, when I'm now pulling this, it's the expected behavior. These things go inside the edge, and that's the normal user behavior. Okay? Right. So this is there, and let's now put something else. So the body, remember, the body is now a container, and I actually wanted a column where the first item is this right left, and the second item is up down list. Okay, so I'm wrapping, again, I'm using this trick. I'm going to wrap the container with which now? I'm going to wrap the container with a column so I can add more children to it. So wrap with column, and immediately it's it doesn't change anything. Okay, it says one child, but I want to add another container, so I'm going to copy this. Okay. So the second container is going to be a list view separated, but it will be user tiles. So I'm going to change it from user card to user tiles. So user list tile. The thing is, this padding is not going to work anymore. So I'm going to get rid of this padding. And how do I get rid of the padding? Again, command dot remove the widget. Remove the widget immediately peels that widget off. Okay? So now I have a 250 high list view, but this still has a horizontal scroll direction, so I remove that or change it to vertical. Right? So now I'm building a 250 high container with a list view of user list tiles separated by a divider. And that's it, right? So let's see what comes out. So here you have the user list. And here you have this list. So you have basically, yes?
If we don't mention the scroll direction, would it by default take it vertically?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I just put it because, anyway. So that's that. So now let's do something. Let's give this container not 250 height, but let's give it a 700 height. So now this container wants 700. This one wants how much? 250. So 950, but this device, I mean the body in the scaffold is more than less than 950. Okay? Therefore, it's giving me this black yellow stripes saying that you're trying to build something that I'm not that I don't have enough space. Okay? All right. So what can we do? If this is what we want to do, what can we do?
We can have it wrap it to available space. No?
Well, we can wrap it to available space by removing the height. You know, if you remove the height, I think it should work. No, it doesn't work because the list view is trying to open itself infinitely. And the container says, whatever you want to do, I'm with you. You know, unless somebody told me how big I should be, if you want to grow, you can grow. But if somebody told me I need to be 700 high, I'm going to stop you there. Okay, that's what the container says. So if the container doesn't know anything and the list view wants to just grow, it gives me an error. Here, I have this, and I know my container is a finite size. I know the other one is finite size. It's just too big for the screen. Solution?
Wrap the second container with the SingleChildScrollView.
The second one. What if we wrap everything with a SingleChildScrollView?
Okay.
Right? So everything is sitting inside a column. I can go and say, now this doesn't have a SingleChildScrollView. In this case, you just say rapid widget. So the behavior now is that, remember, the SingleChildScrollView, the object in the SingleChildScrollView is going all the way here. Is that clear? So the SingleChildScrollView takes one big object. How big is my column? The thing is, how big is the column? The column has this and this in it. I know that this one has a 700 size. This one is a 250. So the column inside is 950. But the SingleChildScrollView is saying whatever doesn't fit into my viewport, I'm going to clip it, but I'm not going to make an error about not being able to display. I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to allow people to scroll to see it. Whatever the user cannot see, they can see by scrolling. So here, when I come to the end of the, it's actually clashing together with the scroll view, so that's not a very good example. sorry, it's clashing together with the list with the list view. So if I put like, if I put a container of 300 height, so what I'm doing now, at the end of this thing, I'm putting a container 300 height red. So now, when I get back to the what's happening?
It's because you have to scroll down to see it. So if you drag the top list, drag the top list down.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so thank you. Because the other one was scrolling inside the list view and it was taking the scroll thing from there. So now it appears and it's underneath hidden. And this creates this scrolling. Anyway, so I hope this was like a good intro to this, so you can look at the code. I'm going to check it in and look at this stuff. So what have we covered? Just to wrap up quickly, we've covered the list views. We've covered a bit about creating classes, creating static methods for classes, creating widgets, and so on. And we've also covered how to use the scroll view, how to understanding more about the sizing of the object. So I think we've covered a lot about layout. So let's take a break. We're going to talk a few more things and then do the exam. We'll take a break for 10 minutes. Did yours come late at the end? Were you able to do it?
No, I fixed it.
Now it's working. Very good. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it's the old one. So
एक दूसरे के साथ मैच नहीं करती काफी सारे मैंने खुद ने फेस किया ये दिक्कत कुछ आता नहीं तेरे को पता है प्रोजेक्ट प्लानिंग वाला इसके अंदर कमेंट्स डालते हैं होमवर्क के अंदर असाइनमेंट के अंदर मैं तो कोई नहीं करता भाई ये डालती है हमारे वो क्लास में अच्छा था ना कॉन्फिडेंस बूस्ट होता
Okay, if you want to get this code, you can now get it from this tab, lecture 6 end. I've just pushed it up to GitHub.
Main axis 是这样上下是吗？然后 cross axis 是左右。Main axis 就是 start 就在上面，然后 main axis 在下面。
Can I say something? You know, for your final project, right, you have to have the sort of one-pager for the app, and then Figma designs, and then the UI design. Obviously, for the UI design, you will need mock data before you connect all the Firebase stuff. For the mock data, you can use that technique with the mock service, right? There is other mocking libraries, etc. There's hundreds of them. Either one of those or these you can use to create as sized data as you want. And so for that stage, it's important that you have that a little bit under control. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So that was also, it also ties into your project because you have to deliver the UI design with the interactions of how the page, the page designs and the interactions for the page with mock data in the beginning. Then you start integrating with the backend. Is everybody here or? Can't see anybody.
We are not.
Back to the buck. Okay, guys, before we do the exam, I want to talk about something that you need to know about Dart. These streams. You know about the concept of streams? Yes, a little bit? Okay, so this is the most basic way the stream operates. So stream is a Dart object that takes a property of or type, sorry, of the stream. It could be a class, it could be one of these integer, double, etc. And So it takes 2 as the object, so basically this will go to whatever number I put here. It will count this 4, and it will await, in this case, it will await for 1 second before it yields that number, right? It turns the I from 1 to, let's say if I give it 10, it will go from I equals 1 to 10. But every time it will delay the yielding of the number to the stream by 1 second. Okay? And I create the stream as count stream, calling this object. But this stream, when it's created, it doesn't start ticking yet, or it's not being consumed. It's created as a concept, but it's not being consumed. Stream can be listened to. There are this stream that can be listened to has only once listenable. It's not a broadcast stream. There are broadcast streams that is listenable by multiple times, but this one is only listenable once. And so we we define the listen function of the stream, and whenever the stream brings a new item, I need to do something with this item. In this case, I'm just going to print it. So the result of this code should be, right, the stream, the numbers in the stream are coming every second, okay? So the listener is going to get something every second. So therefore, I should see a number appearing on the screen at every second, okay? And that's what it does with the stream. So here we created the stream intrinsically. There are other ways to create a stream. You can create a stream whenever there is something in your code that generates a number. You can put it into a stream controller, right? And the stream controller can add it to a stream. You can do it like that. You can create a stream, define it with a stream controller, and then you can listen it in different places. So some of the state management stuff that we're going to talk about next lesson now is using these stream mechanisms to disseminate the information to the different parts of the application. Okay, so this gist is also available for you to play with. I put it onto the module, and any questions on this? If not, let's get to the exam.
Another pencil nahi na paper
Just one page, just one page. Pass it. I'm going to try to do the light for scratch. There was a few extras, it's fine. Don't forget to put your name. Please do that first.